I'm going to give you a quick lesson in crimping. Some of the basic tools that are needed is a crimp tool, a flush cutter, a couple of bead stops, make your life a little bit easier, and of course your findings. And then very small, sitting down here, are two 2x2 crimp tubes. To begin with, we're going to take one of our bead stops off, pick up a crimp tube, pick up our finding, go through the loop of the finding, roll the wire over and go back through the crimp tube. What you want to do is get about a 1/2 inch tail, then pull on the long line to close your loop. You don't want to use up all your bead wire on the first crimp. Once you get close to the size that you want your loop, you want it as tight as possible without causing the bind on the finding. That'll cause quicker wear. Now we're going to pick up our crimp tool, and you notice on our crimp tool it has two positions on it. The back one here, closest to my finger, looks like it's smiling at you, and the forward one looks like a little football. We want this smiling at us because we open it up, there's a tray that we can lay our crimp tube in. So I'm going to come in here, lay my crimp tube in that tray, and if you see any of the crimp tubes sticking out like that, then you're not centered. The crimp tube and the plier are the same width, so you shouldn't see any of the crimp tube. Get your crimp tube in the tray, make sure your loop's the size you want it, and give it a mash. When you open it up, you'll see you've put an indentation in the tube. Then you're going to turn it 90 degrees, and you're going to stand it up in the forward part, or the football of the crimp tube, and then give it a squeeze, and it'll fold in half. It's that folding it in half that gives that crimp all its strength. Now we're going to take this tail and back feed it into a couple of beads. If the beads were too small of a hole that I couldn't back feed them, I could cut it off right at the crimp and not worry about it. But if I can, I'll always back feed just for that little extra security. Take and slide all the rest of the beads down and get your other end, and we're going to pick up the other crimp tube, go through our finding, roll it over, go back through the crimp tube, this time though we're going to back feed a couple of beads onto this tail so that we can leave a tail on this. Then we're going to grab that little piece there, grab our finding, and pull our slack out. Now when we go to pull our slack out, we want to make sure that our bracelet is in the shape that it's going to be worn. This is very important when it comes to larger beads, because if you pull all the slack out while it's straight and then come back and bend the bracelet, it will become over tightened. And once we get our loop the size we want it, we go back and we inspect the rest of the bracelet to make sure there's no gaps, and then we'll take our crimp tool and we'll do the same thing we did on the first crimp. We come in here, lay our crimp tube into the smile, give it a mash, there's your indentation, turn it 90 degrees, stand it up in the forward one, and fold it in half. That's crimping right there. Then we have to get rid of this little tail here. You do not want to go in with the tip of your cutter and try to cut that wire, because you can accidentally cut the wire that matters. Take the flush side of your cutter towards the beads, lay the wire across it, and then pull it in tight, and you can snip that wire and it'll pop right into that last bead. And there you go, Crimping 101. Thank you, have a great day.